Everyone. So since I last saw you all on Thursday, I decided to drive home for a little bit. And as most of you know, I do live in New York. I don't live in the city. I actually live on an island which is off of New York. So I live on an island called Long Island, which was actually formed by a glacier, which is what we talked about a little bit in school, I remember. And a glacier is just a big hunk of ice. And as this ice moves slowly, like very, very slow, as it moves, it drops rocks and it drops sand and it drops a bunch of different sediment, which is like a mixture of all those things. And as it drops it, it forms islands. So we actually, Long Island is from a glacier. So it's from all the things dropping as the glacier slowly melted. So Long Island is actually 28 miles wide and it is 118 miles long. So I live on this island that's kind of big, and I actually drove from Mifflinburg all the way out to the end of Long Island. And my drive was actually 297 miles. It was a little bit of a long drive, but it was definitely worth it to see my family. I know that either last week or 2 weeks ago, we did a little simulation where we saw what it was like for things to erode or to see how erosion works. So I actually thought it would be pretty cool if I went down to the beach and I brought you guys with me to show you what it's really like in real life, in person. So I see things like that all the time where I live since I am in a beach town. I know a lot of you have been to the beach before. Some of you might even be in beach towns right now. I know some of you went to Delaware. Some of you were headed to Hawaii. So maybe you'll be able to see those things where you are. But I thought it'd be pretty cool to show you where I live and what it's like out here. So here we are. This is the bay that is closest to my house. I know I talked about this a little bit with you guys, but here is the bay. And over here we have some cliffs, which I'm actually going to walk a little bit closer to show you guys and talk a little bit about the erosion of these cliffs. If you guys notice, we have some purple sand up here. And I know we talked about this in one of our lessons that we talked about where purple sand might come from. I wonder if you guys remember where they said purple sand comes from. So here is one of the cliffs that I was showing you guys earlier. So this is a place where we see erosion pretty often. And I know this might not look very tall to you, but to show you how big it is, I'll come over here and I'll stand right at the base of it. So from where I'm standing up to the top is probably like 50 or 60 feet. It's pretty tall. So if you guys can see, there's little ruts in the sand, or it's kind of mud because it's a little wet. There's ruts, and that's from all the rainwater and also from wind, because those are the two things that we said cause erosion, water and wind. So a lot of the time, water won't reach all the way up to these cliffs. Sometimes during hurricanes or maybe high tide, if we have a full moon that is at the same time, sometimes the water will come up this high. It doesn't happen very often, but most of the time the erosion on these cliffs comes from the wind. You're also not allowed to climb on them because that would also be erosion from you climbing up and all the sand coming down. As you can see here, we have some soft sand, kind of like the traditional sand that you'd see at a beach that you'd go to. But if we walk a little bit closer to the water, you start to see more rocks. And these rocks, especially once we get pretty much into the water, this is how we get the sand on our beaches, because these rocks will tumble in the waves and they'll crack on each other and they get smaller and smaller and smaller until they become these little teeny tiny rocks, and then they'll turn all the way into sand. Another thing we talked about in our video is how water can carve into different things such as rock or sand and create new pathways. So this is something that only started happening about 2 or 3 years ago. This actually all used to be sand over here, but the water had such strong currents that it started carving into the sand, and now we have what we like to call a little baby beach, where it's really shallow, and this is where a lot of families like to bring their little kids because it's very shallow and they can stand here. This is something that was really cool to watch happen over a couple of years, because like I said, this never used to be here until the strong currents came and carved out the sand. Okay, well, I'm back home now. That concludes our little tour of Long Island and the beaches where I live, and some of the erosion that I see every day in my town. If you guys have any questions or you guys want to see anything else, feel free to email me. My email address will be in the description. Just have someone at home help you do that. I can't wait to hear from you, and I hope you guys are having a really nice day. See ya!